Jason Metal Conjure here with Mr. Josh Elmore of Decapitation. I can't believe it's been 2 years since Death Atlas came out, and we've just lost so much time. That's more than anything else. Just time has been gone, and it's been 2 years plus since the album's been released, but it's still, there's so much I want to learn about it. And here in the band for, since Humanor, Disturbed Man, there's been so many changes in the structures and the setups and the riffs. And just to tell me, how was this music planned to be from the Anthropocene album? Was this the plan all along to make something like this? Or how did this new sound in this album come about?
I think, the band started as a very straight grind band with death metal aspirations.
Right.
And that, I think we've always had these sort of ambitions of, okay, here at whatever era this is sort of the ideal thing we're going for, but not quite getting it. So you hear 3 album chunks of ascending to whatever that ideal is, and then finally getting it on the 3rd one. But during the course of that, that isn't to devalue the music that's in the hopeful upswing towards that, because some really good stuff came out of that. It's just, I think it's in these we're kind of trying to shift what we're headed towards. So it goes in chunks of 3, I believe. First 2 total grind, and then Disturbed Man was obviously a much cleaner quote unquote version of that, but it was still going to say a grindcore record with death metal-y stuff going on. And then Humanor, obviously, we tried to we got to start writing longer songs because we're on Metal Blade, we're a death metal band now. So there was the sussing of how to do that correctly and, still have a song. So there was that, but we also wanted to experiment and, do off-the-wall kind of scrammy, spazzy stuff. So that's Karma Bloody Karma. You have, some standard death metal kind of stuff, a little black metal stuff here and there, some more experimental stuff, some total, slappy gore guts, gronkiness here and there. And then, the full realization of the more technical side of the band was Harvest Floor. Because there is so many notes on that record, can't even remember how to play by half a minute, if not all. But there's just so much going on. But that record, that's some people's favorite record, because it's, that sort of facet of the band on 10,
Right.
I think after that record, we kind of sat back a little bit and were like, well, it's not like we want to dumb stuff down or anything like that. But we just want to assess how to have as much replay value as possible, yet still be as, abrasive as we can be, and also not be afraid to influences that are either off the wall or not metal at all or whatever. If those can be incorporated in a way where it's not just shoehorning something in for the sake of it, or just to try to be sort of just for the sake of, varying with no real respect to the song or whatever's going on. If we could do that, please, let's do that. So Mono, Anthro, and Death Atlas is kind of this, I was describing before, this sort of progression of becoming more comfortable with, who we are 25 years into our career, quote unquote, and just evolving, So I think the next record, which should be the first in the next group, we're getting old here, so I don't know how many more groups are going to be.
I'm fascinated to hear what that new
album is going to sound like.
46, so really?
We got to do what we can.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, Travis is 47.
Wow.
Just right in the middle of middle age. So the next one is just, we go in with this one picture of it in the studio, and then what we come out with is not dramatically different, but it's always oh, that's a little bit not what I was expecting, but always a pleasant surprise. Otero kind of reins in certain things, or really wants us to you got to fucking take that riff or that part for all it's worth. That thing is just really selling that song or whatever, whatever. So just a very general sort of, we're still in the late stages of writing it, and I'm still figuring out how I feel about certain things and what layers I'm going to add to stuff, or textural, atmospheric stuff. It's still ripping fast in parts, but a lot more, I don't want to say groove, but just heavy oriented. So if there's people that really like the kind of the tight guitars locked up with the kicks, but just kind of punishingly heavy stuff, they're going to be really pleased. But there's a ton of, if people like the whole kind of cinematic, soundtrack atmosphere stuff, there's a ton of that. And I don't necessarily mean bumpers between songs, but I mean integrated within the songs. What I'm doing with a lot of the layering and atmospherics is way more prevalent. So yeah, there's ripping double bass and one guitar just chugging, or just super fast single note picking, and then me playing fucking Sad Sack Joe crap over the top of it. So,
I'm personally really curious to hear how that album's going to sound like from Death Atlas. Like part of like when I've heard it, like Vulturous, the one part in the verse goes like down, 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 and then it goes like really lower. Like you do a blast part and it goes right back to a lower section. Like you can barely hear it, but it's the lower notes. Those little details, like just something I just like. It feels like the tempo on certain parts are faster, but it feels like the tempos are spread out a little more. There's a little more breathing room for some of the choruses and some of the more interlude-y. I hear some like more attention to detail. Like we know we're tight musicians. We know we practice. We know each other.
Yeah.
Let's just use each other's strengths together.
Exactly. Like you said, the space.
Yes.
In between, like letting Travis have room to. I mean, literally, but room to breathe. Where he can have phrases. He can write little, if you want to call them hooks, whatever, to just add to like the layers of what's going on. But give him room to do it, because before, some of the super spazzy stuff, like either Karma or Harvest Floor or whatever. It's like a guy it's like the guy on Alligator Heads doing one of these sort of things,
Yeah.
He had to really try to jam his personality in these little short bursts. So once we kind of like, part of that sort of thought process and discussion we had before Mono came out is like, yeah, it's going to be fucking shredding paint and fucking machine gunning a wall sounding, but let the changes happen a little more, spread stuff out, so these more dramatic sections, and I think that's really served us well, that decision, but it's not we haven't compromised anything. I mean, people could hear like, oh, who does he think he is? Regarding me. Is he Billy Duffy or Johnny Marr playing this tickly stuff over the top, whatever? I'm like, well, maybe, but no. It just adds texture, and there's still just, going on. It's like, oh no, it's not like I don't know.
To your point, I have friends and like my brother and people like we were Cali for so long, and their point of view way back was like album for Cattle, like they know it's good. There's parts they like cool, it's cool, but live, oh, where's Cattle? Cattle's playing. Yeah. Let's go see them live. This album is like the first I can listen to this album in whole, but they haven't really felt that way about an album, and I've
had a lot of people say that, even keeping Anthro and Mono in mind.
Yeah, they
were like, especially with Death Atlas, the more of any of them, they're like, I can actually put this on, listen to it beginning to end, and then if it accidentally loops, okay, and they're like, oh shit, I've listened to this 2 times already,
right?
And people, whether they're into metal, extreme metal, death metal, grind, black, whatever. Outside of that, I've had people that don't even really listen to metal that much. They're like, yeah, there's a few things I listen to, but I'm more of a EDM or whatever they're into. Go like, man, I listen to that record all the time. Like, it's not our thing. It's like, oh, we have to reach this vast amount of people. It's like,
it just happened
that's
that
great.
way.
If we do, amazing, fantastic. But if it can speak to people who aren't, blinders on metal people or whatever, isn't that kind of what you want? But still remain true to what you're doing and not compromise what you're about to try to reach anyone, because that'll ultimately fail. So,
is this the first time that with Belisario, your guitar player, is this the first time that there's been 2 guitar players on a studio album for Cattle? I think
he was on Death Atlas.
No, this is the first one, the only one.
Oh, Death Atlas, yes,
right.
One. Yeah.
What was that like? That must have been different, right? To have like another guitar player.
Yes, but I think on this upcoming record that we're finishing up working on, or at least the writing process, writing right now. I think it's going to be more distinct on that there's 2 different guitar parts going on. Death Atlas, there's harmonies there, or like I'm doing octaves and he's doing the chord part, or vice versa, or he's doing like a high harmony, something. Yeah, it was there, but it's stuff that sounded like with Anthro and stuff, I just probably did it in the studio, or something like that. But now, I mean, since I have we have 2 guitar players, we can do stuff that's like, I didn't have to worry before where I was like, oh, well, it's just only me. I guess I'll step on a octave pedal or something to give it this, illusion of depth or whatever. It's like, no, he can do it. I can do this. He can do that. And like with this, like I was saying, like the sort of layering and the cinematic kind of sound effect you have, I can do that now. And there's still a guitar going, makes it all aggressive and heavy. So you don't lose the heavy, but you still get the advantage of having this texture there. And vice versa. Like, you're not just, well, I got to chug, so the bottom doesn't drop out, but you're sacrificing this sort of really cool atmospheric. It add a lot more emotional weight on this stuff. So it's the best of both worlds having that. So I think in this next record you're going, I'm hoping, you're going to hear a lot more distinctive, like, there's 2 guitars playing, there's A and B coming back and forth. Not like, to a lot of people that means, oh, they're going to just harmonize twin doodle or whatever. It's like, not really. It's just like, here's 2 people's distinct styles, hopefully complementing one another to make this cohesive whole that's
like Trey and Rudin, and Domination.
Yeah, like they have distinctive things, with them, but it unifies to this pleasing,
To your point, I always felt the Cattle's rhythm section was underrated to the point where I always felt that there should have been 2 guitar players live because while you're doing like a solo or lead, the rhythm part, like that riff is still great and you miss stuff.
Yeah, you miss that because you're like, when you're in studio, I haven't done the laid down the lead yet.
Of course.
You're like, oh, that's kind of a sick riff. Yeah. It's like, why? I mean, not that you want to use like a throwaway riff under the lead, or whatever, but it's like, that's a really sick riff. But that's another thing with like the spacing out stuff. Oh, well, if you kind of like I was paying attention to it, but I really, really started paying attention to like, songwriting in the very like, man, this Mr. song is incredible. Okay, well, obviously I like to listen to it. Let me just, take, pencil and paper out and write like A, B, C, 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 and just write the structure out and just kind of like look at that and go, okay, I mean, obviously I'm hearing it and recognizing it, but there's certain things that, are sort of unconscious. They lead you there. It's like, and just appreciating like structure of like, that's, pop music of the 80s or top 40 of the 80s, I guess you could say.
There's some good sit on the 80s stuff. There's some good 80s stuff.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm a child of that. So, I'll love all that stuff and just the songwriting in that. That's what a lot of modern music, and this is where Grandpa comes in. They just don't do that. There's that. You know what it is? It's like watching a highlight reel from like someone dunking over and over and over. There's no drama.
There's an advertisement.
There's no lull to where there's like, or not lull, but this is like a build-up, and there's no tension release. It's all just 100% like, do you want to be pleasured all the time? Let's go right now. Let's do it. Never ends. We're going to shovel donuts in your mouth. We're going to fucking look at boobs or whatever your thing is all the time. And there's no, like, you can't enjoy that unless there's some sort of, there's no peaks and valleys.
Right.
Everything is 100% all the time. And it's just like, I'm not talking about aggression to music or, where it's like, oh, it's all blast beats or whatever. No, it's just like within that, there's no songwriting. It's just all, you're shopping and you hear, oh, this just sold bajillion, or no one buys records anymore. What am I talking about? It's received bajillions of looks on, on whatever.
Yeah.
This is what's popular. I know it's Grandpa talking again, but even, all genres, it doesn't have to be like pop, it can be rock, anything. It's just like,
even the metal time radio.
Everything sounds like a bumper, like that 5-second bumper when they go to commercial on like an NFL game. Mm-hmm. And let's make a whole album out of that. Yep.
I don't know. I get, they don't do it like they don't do
drama
it.
Anymore,
A few more questions. And thank you again for your time. Being around Travis, like his vocal delivery, like the concepts, not just the lyrics, but I feel concepts within his voice and patterns and emotion, like in Times Square Curtain, the We Know That We're Wrong, that part, that the little rip down, a little trip, little tick note right there, dun, 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 like the first part. Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
It just, there's so much, like, what was his like, what did he do? Did he do anything different that you've ever seen him before do? Or like
his vocal performance on the last, like on Death Atlas? Like his
overall.
Okay.
Yeah, overall.
He's been doing, for whatever people say, oh, the witch voice or whatever thing. He's been doing that like on record since Harvest Flow.
Yeah.
Like Regret in the Grave. He did that towards the end of the song, and people never either haven't heard that record or just don't ever remember that. And but then there was like probably touches of him experimenting with that, like on Karma. Here and there.
I think on the EP, the Candice, that EP was there was a little bit of No Future. There was a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Some too.
Yep. So I like as far as Death Atlas goes, like I don't know if it was like because we're never his performance is never like, well, I'm just going to kind of autopilot this. He's always trying to push himself, have another element, a new element to his voice that's engaging.
This just seems different in a great way. Just different.
It's like I think he felt he was like, you know what, fuck it. I don't care if people say, this is. It's not a pop thing, but just like, I'm going to have all those hooks. I'm going to like really try to use my voice in a way that's, these really abrasive, kind of harsh vocals, but in a way that's almost somewhat traditional musically. Like I'm and writing hooks, even though it's this super abrasiveness to it. So like, as you were mentioning, Times Square Curtain, like that whole, like, there's two guitar parts. There's the one I'm doing the octaves and then just bending one. So it sounds like, sad, sexy. And then the other part, which I was like, the other part, which is like very just sort of like almost singer-songwriter moody, under that. And those two things, I think, perhaps inspired him to like, have this real somber kind of thing. The octave thing I'm doing, I didn't have that until we were in the studio because I was like, I got to put something there, because I love that riff underneath it, but I want to put something there just to give one little other thing. And so I probably was sitting there like, okay, I think I want to use this reverberator pedal I have. And I just started fucking around, and then I did it. No, Charles like, that, yes, do that. Oh my God, let's do it again. Let's do it again. You know, and so I just was one of those lucky on-the-fly things. And to great effect, I listen to it now, I'm like, if I just spent X amount of time trying to overthink all of that, there's no way I would have ever come back with something that simple and stupid, but effective at the same time.
Does he write music at all, or any contributions to like parts or like transitions, counterpoints, or like slowing stuff down?
Yeah, I mean, he's very like, you know, he knows our mission is like, we want the songs and the album. You know, it's not like to make this part the most tech or any of this crap or the most heavy, whatever. It's the song. You know, if it happens to need that, then yes. But as far as writing the actual music, no. The only, you know, there are parts where he'll suggest, like, you know, because one of us will be stuck, you know, like, I really want to play a layer, like me, I want to put layers some over here, but then when I thought of it, I'll come up with something. And then, that's like, oh, okay, well, I got to do my layers and leads here in a couple of days. And he'll come back with like, oh, you know what I was thinking? You know, just you were talking about it, and he goes, you don't play this or anything remotely close to this, but something like this feel, and he'll just play, you know, kind of throw something out real quick. And I'm like, oh, that's good. And sometimes that inspires you to write something that has that feel to it. So it's not that he's like, okay, do this, do this, do this. It's more like inspiring what he does, and that's incredibly helpful.
That's good to hear.
And some of the arrangements too, he'll be like, don't you really want to play this part a couple more times, you know? Or be more like tempo matching. Like he'd be, man, I know we practiced it like this, but it's going to sound really weird unless you do this, and he'll show us, and we're like, oh, fuck it, you're right. And then we'll, you know, kind of make that adjustment.
Kyle of Vitriol told me, too, that people don't write the riffs in the band, but other people recommend, like, they'll change the drum accent part. Okay, let's slow down this part. Like, it's more of, like, changing tempo of certain things, not adding riffs, but just, like, so I kind of see where that is coming.
He's not one of those guys that just, you know, presses the record button and says, oh, do it again or whatever. I mean, he does do that, too. But he's fully invested in the project, you know, whomever he works with, and just his suggestions are great. It's like 9 out of 10 times he's right, but man, when he's not, it's amazing because he's like, for once you're not.
You should record that part and exactly keep an album. And he'll be like,
okay, guys, stupid idea. But he's right about so much stuff because it's his job, you know?
Right?
So, and we trust him, in you know, infinitely with that. You know, he's one of those guys that can get the performance he wants out of you, but without being a dick about it. So golden.
That's awesome. Last question.
Super nice guy, great. You know, his girlfriend, his daughter, everyone's really nice. Great setup, family kind of, not family man in the total like, oh, he's a family man, but he is. But you know,
family could be with band members and people in front. Like that's
the way we feel with him, and I know other bands that have worked with him feel the same way, just because there's that affection, because it's such a good experience working with him. The quality of the output that his product is so high. It's just
fine. That's why people love him.
Yeah.
And last question, we Death Out the Scott, obviously, you know, because of COVID and time and the pandemic. So perfect world, quote unquote, and hopefully everything goes better than normal. Rest of the year after this tour, like, does the band want to tour as much? Do they want to pick you have like now so much more say than I think ever, like starting up and everything. It's good to pick. Is it better to get the most quality tours, or you rather want, so no matter what, you'd be 2 big tours over 4 so-so tours?
Yes, absolutely. We're just, I mean, as much as, you know, I mean, every member has their differing stance on, like, some people are like, I could be out 10 months out of the year and be fine. The other, you know, others of us be like, whoa, Silver. But I think, like, for the rest of this year, we have obviously this, and then we're recording in May and June in Denver at Otero's. So we want to try to play a few shows on the way out there, which isn't really a tour. It's more like tiny handful of shows to try to make some money and whatever. And then after that, the next thing we have booked is
the Chain Reaction 2-day special.
Oh no, right. I'll try to nudge, wink in there.
Right.
Because I'd love to do that, and I'm sure Travis would too. That'd be so fun. We have Europe, like, fest season, and a few club shows, which during fest season are kind of, but we'll see what we can do. That's starting July, I want to say 27th, and going to August 21st. And then there's a tour in South America, which we were pitched for. We don't know if we're going to get on it. It's in, like, early mid-September. And then we don't do anything until mid-November. We have a very, very big U.S. tour that we're a part of. It's not our tour, but we're on it and honored to be on it.
Main support?
No. When you hear the band, you'll be like, oh, that's why.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's not like some arena shit or anything. I mean, well, it's big venues, but it's not
Okay.
rock star shit, but it's
We're-
big shit. So
Really
for
happy-
us at least.
Honestly, happy to hear that. Any last words any last words you like to say for everyone listening, and just for tonight, and then Pomona got rescheduled
Yeah,
for the rest
to
of
the
the tour. Anything you like to
Just,
end with?
Come on out if you feel comfortable with it. I know everyone's kind of sort of on edge with this stuff right now, and as it has been. So yeah, come on out if you feel safe. We'll, throw our old, decaying bodies around for you. Well, 3/5 of it at least, and the old, and just do our best and come see those songs live that you hopefully have grown to really love over the course of us, staring at screens for the past 2 years.